Hello, everybody. Oh my gosh. Look at that hair. Just going crazy. It's Mary here, and I want to just say hello. How y'all doing? Today is Thursday, which means it's time for another free little snippet class on DSLRs. And this week we're focusing on f-stop. What the heck is an f-stop, and what does that mean? So I just wanted to let you guys know I'm super excited about this, and so hopefully let me know in the comments if you're here now. Wave to me. It looks like nobody's on at the moment, and that's totally cool. I know people are getting back to work and everything, so wanted to just share with you guys what f-stop is. And basically it's a fancy name for it's called aperture, is another name that we use it for, or what's your aperture. And so that is basically telling us how wide a lens is open, or how open the eye is. And so when you think about the human eye, for example, like when you go to the eye doctor and they give you the stuff to dilate your eyes and make your pupils bigger, that is actually going to, I don't know if you've noticed this, but then it's really hard to read things unless you're really close. You can't read things unless, you know what I mean, or maybe it's far away. I can't remember which one it is, but basically things kind of get blurry as your pupil gets bigger. Your eyes see blurry vision. So with that, is very similar to how a camera is. I'm sorry, you guys, I'm having a terrible hair day, so I'm just going to try to get this. Here we go. Okay. So the camera does the same thing. So on the side, you actually find out what your apertures ranges are, or the lowest it can go anyways. And when I say low, that means it's wider, okay? But on the side of your lens, and I'll take this off so you guys can see it, but on the side of your lens, here we go. Come on, baby. There we are. It says 1.8. So that actually means that this camera lens can go relatively wide. Come on now. Don't track my face. Here we go. Relatively wide, okay? So let's talk about 1.8. 1.8, the lower the numbers go, the blurrier your background is going to be. Now, there's a lot of other fancy things that happen, and I'm not going to go into all the technicalities of it, but I can draw a picture for you. So I'm really sorry, but I keep fixing my hair because I have this one particular one that keeps going this way, so I'm sorry. But what that means is that the planes, if you think of a window, it's like cross sections. You know, it's how much depth of field. So when you go down to a 1.8, it's actually giving you a shallower depth of field. And let me explain that to you by just drawing you a little picture here. Here we go. So let me get my little pencil. So if you think about, let's say it's a grouping of a family, and we're looking at them from an aerial view. So we're looking at them like from a drone perspective. And let's say we have 3 people here in the plane, okay? And so then what ends up happening is that the lower the number goes, what that means is that one of these people are probably going to be out of focus. So it means that this is the only plane that is able to be in focus. So the person in the back is going to be out of focus. And so that means that the person in the back either has to step forward, or the 2 people have to step back. Now, let's increase the number. For example, if you were to increase your f-stop, and what I mean by increasing it is that the numbers go higher, then what will happen is that you're going to have more planes. So let's take those 3 people again. Make sure it's not there. And so instead of just having this thin line of a plane, your plane is actually going to be a little bit more. And we'll kind of fill in that line to kind of, represent that there's more of a depth happening. So you're going to get more people in focus, even if they're a little bit staggered. So, for example, when I have a family and there's only about 3 people, but I want to have a nice blurry background, I actually often don't shoot 1.8, simply because somebody's going to be out of focus. So if I have just one person, you can kind of get artsy-fartsy with it. But typically, even then, because if you think about how small, like I said, 1.8 is like a thin line almost. And if you think about somebody's face, you know, again, looking at them from excuse me, an aerial view, they might have, you know, they have a nose. Okay, that's a terrible, terrible nose. But they have a nose. And so what happens is that you might focus on their eye. And that's typically where I tell people to focus. But their nose sticks out just like mine. My nose sticks out further than my eyes do. So if I'm focusing here on my eyeball and I'm at a 1.8 aperture or f-stop, that means that, sure, my eyes, if they're on the same, again, the same plane, they're going to be in focus, but my nose will actually be blurry. And so that can create even blurriness in the face. So my lips and my nose might be blurry, but my eyes will be in focus. Now I'll take that over anything else because the blurring actually is kind of helpful sometimes with some of these images, because what it also does is then it blurs out pores. So people kind of like that softening effect that happens. So the f-stop is really, honestly, it's just going to tell you how far or how wide of a plane you can be on, so how thick the lines are. So let's talk about if we had an f-stop of 8 and you went up to an 8, then that just means instead of it being that thin line in those people, so I'll draw the diagram again. Let's say we have the 3 people here again standing here. Instead of it just being that one line, again, that goes through, it just means that not only the line is going to be thicker, that plane, again, aerial view, we're looking from above, that plane is just going to get wider. So that just means that all of these people now will be in focus versus it being just the 2 people in front. And that's really, honestly, the easiest way to explain it. And you can definitely dive into this and really get deep on it. But just to give you an idea, I typically shoot a 2.8 f-stop in my studio. If I only have 1, maybe 2 people, I'll get kind of risky. And what I'll say is if there's a window, both of your noses need to be touching it. So that way I can make sure that they're on, again, that same plane. And so I would say to this third person in the back, yo, move forward, dude, because otherwise you're going to be out of focus. Or if they can't move forward, that's where I tell them to push their butt back and push their face forward, so then their head comes forward and then they are in focus. So that's something to take into consideration when it comes to f-stops. And again, it's just going to tell you how, 2 things. More subjects can be, more things in focus, and then the background is less, so the background becomes more in focus too. But if you want to have that nice blurry, it's called bokeh or bokeh, however, but it's called bokeh, that bokeh effect where things kind of look dreamy in the background and really creamy, then you want to take that number down closer to that 1.8 or 2.8, etc., etc., etc. So hopefully that makes sense to you now. And let me know if you guys have any questions about this. But I want to explain it in a way that makes more sense to people than getting all technical. But again, f-stop is just how wide your plane is, how wide the line is, for you to be able to have people make sure that especially if you're photographing people. Now, the caveat of this is that if you're shooting a landscape, you want the background to be in focus. You want to have all of these things in focus. So it just depends on, your f-stop just needs to be variable depending on how many things you want to have in focus or not in focus. And that's the easiest way to describe an f-stop in terms for this type of class. So let me know if you guys enjoyed that. Thanks so much.